Well, hello everyone, this is your So What Seamstress, and today I am tackling pockets on the ethnic clothing that I'm doing for this wedding coming up. And there's nothing worse than putting a pocket in and have it end up not looking right. So what I did was I made a mock-up. I took some of the scraps of the fabric to see how it would work, and I created a semblance of the same elements of the pocket, and I created this little baby pocket. So let's get to the vest. The vest has two pockets. It has a pocket on the front, on the left and the right. And to place the pocket pieces, you have what's called, it's either going to be called a welt or a tab or something of that nature. So when you place your pocket on your vest side, you want to have the welt first, then the pocket lining, and then the main part of the pocket, and they line up just like this on the markings that you have transferred to your vest front. Now, to see these pieces individually, this is, that's not what I'm looking for. This is the pocket lining. This is the pocket. And this is called the welt or tab. Some patterns will call them tabs. So to get your welt ready for the putting on the vest first, because this is the first piece you put on, you want to put them right sides together, stitch 3/8 of an inch from the edge on both edges, and as you can see, I have serged this edge because it's cotton and I don't want any fraying going on while I'm sewing or even after it's finished. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this one on the machine here. Trying to find my pedal. And there it is. Oh. Trim that off. Do the other side. Same thing. There's my sharp little scissors in there. Now, whenever you have something that you have to turn it right side out to have the corners be nice and crisp, you want to cut it at a diagonal on each corner, being careful not to catch the stitching that you've just done. And then you trim this edge down. I had already trimmed this down to serge it, so it's fine. You do it on both ends. It takes out that excess that you don't need in there. And then you want to turn this one right side out, like this. Now you can push those little corners out with your finger, and sometimes you can get them real nice and pointed. But if you don't, there is a seam gauge that has, it's for turning out corners. So it's like a nice pointed edge, and you put that in that corner, and you wriggle that around, and then that brings you a really nice crisp point on the corners. Then once you've done that, you want to press this one. So once you press it, then you're going to put it on the vest. You want to make sure that you have the markings where that pocket goes. This goes on first, and it goes on this way. So the vest comes from shoulder this way. This one goes on this way, so that when you put the pocket to the inside, this is actually going to flap over it, and then you're going to tack it down by hand. So the little mock-up one I did here is basically what I've done. I'll show you. We're going to pretend this is the real vest. I'm actually going to do the vest, but this is just so that you get more comfortable with making pockets on a vest or any kind of jacket or anything where the pocket is, you know, a main part of it. So we're going to imagine this piece of material here is the actual vest. And I pinned on first. This is the pressed, I don't know if y'all can see. How can I hold it this way? Okay, this is the pressed welt, as it's called in this case. And then that goes on first. Now this is the, you want the welt on the top where the shoulder is. So you put it on with the crease side up, the raw edge down, and then when you put on the lining part of the pocket, you're going to line it up with that welt edge. Then you baste it. When in doubt, always baste it. Because if you have to move it, if it's not in the right position, you'll be able to tell before you cut it. And then you take the pocket portion that goes on the bottom, and we're going to pretend like this isn't cut yet. And then you're going to pin that pocket part on there, and you're going to baste that. Then you're going to take a look at it from the outside, which means you want to make sure that it's in the right position. Check it against your pattern. Now, unfortunately, with this pattern, the print on it is really bad. So I had to kind of eyeball where it goes. Now, positioning of the pocket on a vest is actually very simple. The vest will always have, almost always, I guess. Let me see. I need another one. Let me see if this one's got, I believe they all have a dart in the front. Now, the pocket is going to be placed on that dart in the middle. So the middle of the pocket is right where that dart comes down. And we're going to do darts here in a second because that's part of the process. But I wanted to show you the pocket because the pattern wants me to do the pocket before I put it together, which is good because lining and the vest itself are two separate entities, but they're made the same except for the pocket part. And so it makes sense to put the pocket in before you put the lining on. What that does is when you put the lining on your vest, you don't see the pocket at all. It's in there, but you don't see it. I've got a vest here to show you that shows that very example. As soon as I don't get tangled up in my foot pedal here. There's that seam ripper I was looking for. This vest, I'm off the hook there, bud. Excuse me. Okay. This is a vest that I finished, and it has pockets. Now, the difference in this design is the welt is on the bottom so that it has a finished edge on the bottom, whereas this one, it's on the top. It's a different designer. So, if you can't really see, but this pocket was on an angle, so it's shaped a little bit differently than this one. However, when I looked at that pattern, I could tell that the pocket was in the center of the dart in the front. This particular one I made, oddly enough, doesn't have darts in the front. But if you have a design that has darts in the front and your pattern piece, the print has like worn off or it's not very clear, that's how you know where to put your pocket. I'm going to show you this thing in a minute. So this is the outside. And then this one, you can see the pocket on the inside. Because that's just how this one was constructed because of the way this pocket's made. It's not the same. This one is going to have the lining over top of the pocket. So it's going to have just lining. Pocket's going to be sandwiched in between. So, this one was positioned a little differently. There is a dart, but it was only in the lining. That's really odd, but that's how it was made. So I've got two different vests that I made, and this was one that I kind of dressed it up a little bit on the outside. I could, totally take these pockets out and just have it just a regular vest if I wanted to. But that one's, you know, it turned out it needs to be serged on the outside of the pocket. Definitely. There's some fuzzy things going on here. I don't like the fuzzy things. I have to trim those off. But you can actually see the pocket in that one. Conversely, this one, you're not going to see the pocket because the lining is going to cover it up. So once you have pinned everything onto your vest like this, and you've sewn it, then you're going to make a slit through the center between the two edges. That's why you do it on the wrong side. You can see where they meet. You can see it on the other side, and you cut it, and then you do a V on either end so that you can turn that pocket to the inside. So I'm turning it into inside. And when I turn it to the inside and I bring those edges together, then this is the flap, the welt, or whatever that's left over, and that's going to be folded down after you sew the pocket part on the back. So I'm going to go ahead and do this little sample one to show you. Right sides are together. Okay. And now that I've got a solid pocket. There's the pocket. Fingers go in it. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is press this down, and where this flap comes down, it just gets hand tacked down on either side. So this is kind of like the flap, and you put your fingers under the flap, put your fingers in the pocket. And what I'm going to do with the pockets also on this is serge the edge so it's nice and finished off. Which it already is actually on those. It doesn't make a difference. Darts. I'm going to go ahead and put this one pocket on here. If I can stop dropping it on the floor. So I have the, where'd it go? I just stitched it. I probably dropped it on the floor again. But anyway. Sample stitches. Okay. I've already sewn the shoulders of the, there you are. I know it's here somewhere. This is the other welt for the other side. So what I'm going to attempt to do is show you how that's pinned on. And first, need to trim some threads on here. Get this one sewn on. Okay, where's the side? There we go. So I'm going to sew the top part of the pocket on that has the pocket and the welt. 3/8 inch in. This. Oops. And go across there. Move that out. Stitch this one. As you'll notice, my videos are very informal, impromptu. If I mess up, you get to see me mess up. Because that's real world, right? Of course it is. And I'm going to pin on right sides together, the actual pocket, and put it right next to that the line, they call it the lining, it's the back side of the pocket, it's the other half of it. Right there. I don't want it to slide around on me. Like this. And then I'm going to baste that in place. I'm actually stitching it like this. 3/8 in. Cut that off. Make sure I got a good long tail there. So the next step, take these, magnet. These magnets are great, by the way. They hold everything in there. Magnetic, so you don't drop things on the floor. Okay. So now I have the front of my vest, right? It's the side. And here's the pocket. This is going to go inside. And this is going to go inside. But in order to do that, I have to put a slit in here so I can turn them to the inside. And that requires my sharp little scissors. So all I'm going to do is pretend like this is a cutting line between the two flaps here. The two flaps of the two pieces of pocket. Cut down through the center. And before you get to the end of it, and I'll show you that as well. Come on now. Just cut down there. And before you get to the edge, you want to do like this V. I'll do that on the other side. Cut down through the middle, and about an inch from the edge, I'm doing this little V cut, and I'll show you. So I've cut through all the layers, and this is the back side, and you can see there's this little pointy piece here. That was the V cut. So then you take these pockets, I got extra string there, turn them to the inside, just like so. So now they are turned to the inside, and you want to press this, and I got fuzzies on here. Where they came from. And this little bulging of the seams, press that out. Then this flap goes over it. And over where that V part is. And then you just stitch down the sides. You just stitch that down. This is one of those pockets where it's, you're not supposed to, like, the flap's not supposed to come up. You just kind of like put your hand in there. So I'm going to put that aside to have it pressed, and then I will do the second pocket. What I was talking about on the pattern not being clear is the piece that I have that shows the buttonholes for the front. In here, the printing is all faded out. You can't even see barely where that pocket goes. So what do you do in that case? Well, what you do in that case is the bottom of the pocket, once it's sewn, it cannot drop below this hemline. So you want to make sure that it doesn't drop below there. And the way you do that is once that pocket is pinned in place, see where the bottom falls. And if it falls at least a ½ inch to an inch above there, it should be fine. Other than that, you would just make the pocket a little bit less deep. So when your pattern is messed up and you can't read it and you can't tell, like, well, I think the pattern, it kind of looks like that's where the pocket goes. Well, I don't know what happens to this pattern, whether it got wet or what the deal was. The lady that brought it to me, it came to me like this, so I'm just using my years of practice to figure that all out. So the lining is done exactly the same way as the main part of your vest. So when you're making anything lined, any lined top or lined dress, you're basically making two dresses. Even though you're making one outfit, the lining is a dress and the outside is a dress. So to get perfect darts, that's mainly what this was about. I just threw the pocket thing in there. But this is about getting perfect darts. Darts with the dots. So if you all have never made tailor tacks and you're dealing with a slippery material, like this is the satin lining that I'm using because we didn't have enough of the main fabric to do what we needed to do. So a lot of people have problems with making that dart straight. It ends up being crooked. And this is how you can avoid that a couple different ways. This is my front of the vest lining, and this is the other front vest lining, and then I have the lining for the back. The back has no darts. We don't need that one. Not yet anyway. So with this, to do a tailor tack, it's a matter of, do I have a needle here with a thread in it? If I don't, that's not going to be, well, anyway, to do a tailor tack, hold on, I told you this is a little impromptu, didn't I? Just a moment. Knowing how to use the markings from your pattern is tantamount to success. So if you have a dart on your pattern, it will typically have these little dots or little circles on there. You'll have one at the point, you'll have a couple more maybe in the middle, and then a couple more towards the bottom. This pattern has no circles. None. None whatsoever. Not a single circle on this dart on this pattern. There's not even one at the point. So I guess they expect everyone to use tracing paper. Now tracing paper is a waxy kind of product. You use a little toothed wheel, use the wax paper, little sheets, and you put in between there. That's how we were taught ages ago because that's what they had. But they also taught us how to do tailor tacks for making sure that if you had a material where that wax paper transfer wouldn't wash out very well or would ruin it, they didn't want you to ruin your clothing because of that, and that was all the thing they had at the time. So we were taught tailor tacks. Now tailor tacks are using a needle and thread, and we'll say this is your garment, and where that circle is, that dot for your darts, you're going to take it and do not tie a knot in the end, and you want a good long piece about a good yard. Fold that in half, and you go in through the top, and you're going to leave a tail of about 2.5 inches. Leave a tail about, you guys can't really see that, can you? But that's why I'm using the black thread. So you go up, you go down, you leave a 2.5 inch tail, and then you come back up in the same spot, give or take, and basically in the same spot. And you pull it up. When you pull it up this time, all the way, so you end up with this little stitch right back here. So then you go back down. I do it in like an X format, like up. No, I'm sorry, down, up, go to the right a little bit, go down, and then back up. So it's like, it creates a little X. So when you go back down, same thing, you're going to leave a loop of about 2.5 inches. And you come back up in that same area. So now you got these So you're going to have 8 threads hanging right here. So then you want to cut the thread away, I know, from the hand needle. And that loop there, you want to cut that loop in the middle. You don't want to have a loop there. Now, you have these 8 strings, and you have your 2 layers of fabric. So that way, because you're going to be cutting out 2 of these sections that need the darts. So you need the dart on both of them. So instead of using the wax paper, you use tailor tacks, and as long as these strings are long enough, all you do is you pull it halfway up. Halfway. And then you get this bunch of strings in the center. Well, that's where you snip that, like that. And we're going to pretend these are the front and the back, okay? So now I have, this one has the markings for the dart, and so does the back. So you're going to do this at the point. I would do it halfway down in the dart, wherever it's marked, or wherever the circle dots are. And do that for each one. And use a contrasting fabric color, or thread color, excuse me, so that when you actually finish sewing it, you'll be able to see the threads and pull them out. I made the mistake one time of using almost the exact same color, and I ended up pulling out strings like for days because they were still in there and I couldn't see them because they blended in. So you want a thread that's not going to blend in. So once you've done your tailor tacks, and you can see, hopefully you can see mine, I did them in a lighter color. I didn't want to use black because that would like stand out too much, but in case I miss one, well, that happens. And so you have the tailor tacks, and you put your pin, and the way I teach it is, where the pin enters, that's where your stitching line should go. In other words, that's where your stitching needle on your machine should stitch, is wherever that pin went in. Now where it came out, where it went in, because where it went in is to match up the dot on this side to this side. Because once you separate those two, you have a spot on each side, and you're doing a dart, so you're going to be sewing that together. So you want to have your right side facing away from you, and you're pinching the dot on the wrong side and pinning it on the wrong side. Now, to get the straight dart, this is very easy, but it's also easy to forget. When you put your piece on your sewing machine, that point on that dart, you're going to go from the point down to the more open part. If you look at where those are, they line up in a straight line. That's how you get your straight line. It's how you position it on your machine that interprets and ensures you that you're going to have a straight line. So put your needle in at that first dot. Put your presser foot down. You want to see this, don't you? You want to see how I'm doing this? Okay. I'm going to tell you about it, and then I'll show you. Put the foot down. Put the needle down in that first dot. Don't stitch anything yet. And then you look at the other dots, and you kind of do this visual thing where you look and see if this last dot, does it go in a straight line and line up with the needle in front of you? And if it does, then you're good to go. So let me show you what I just did. So no seasickness, just kind of go with it. Okay, so you put your fabric. Here's the point dot, okay, per se. Hopefully you can see that. Kind of bright there, isn't it? But here's the first needle. I wonder if I go further out, if it helps. I don't know. It's a really bright light. It's also shiny material. So you put that, the point pin, I always have it come out where it kind of points to it. So I'm going to put those threads right there and put that foot down. And then the needle is what holds it in place. So we're going to put the needle down in the fabric at that spot. And then pan back and look at where the rest of your threads are. Well, there's that. And you look, you can't really see, can you? wonder if I turn this off, you can see it. Oh, no, you can see it. How about that? So now, it looks dark in here to me, but as long as you can see it. So you have, this is where I put in dots and tailor tacks. Then I put one here, and then this one's where the point is. So as long as this point and these threads right here, they stay in a straight line all the way down, when I stitch this, I'm going to have a nice straight dart. So let's do that. It's funny how you have to turn lights off to be able to see something. Now you have to turn it on so I can see what I'm doing. I'm not a professor of lighting, but I try. That needle stays there. And the trick to do this is, do not look at the needle with your eyes. Look at where it's supposed to go. That's how you learn how to draw a straight line, by the way. That's in my art videos. So you want to do a couple of little locking stitches on this at the end. And then just make sure they line up. Sometimes the needle's in there, or pin, excuse me, might be in your fabric crooked, and that will cause an issue. So let's straighten that up. Okay. Ow. Now, I'm going to show you. I don't know, we'll try it with the light on or with the light. I guess I should turn the light off, huh? So you can see it. This is the dull. That's my paper scissors. What am I using those for? Okay. So as you should be able to see on this, I have a very nice straight dart line. Let's see if you can. There you go. Now you can see. See how nice and straight that line is? And that is a very narrow dart, but that's what this requires for the lining. So I'm going to take the pins out and show you just how easy this is. Take the pins out of it after you stab yourself 4 times. And then you open it up. So now you have this beautiful dart. That's the inside. The outside, you can tell your dart was done well when you look at the bottom hem and it goes straight across instead of having this little notch there. So once you've done that, what you want to do with darts is you always press them towards the center, not the back, towards the center, because of this. This is how we do. And so I'm going to put this on the ironing board and I'm going to press it. And then we are going to do the shoulders. This is showing you how to pin the pocket up. So I have the piece where I've already done one. Since the pattern's messed up, I don't have markings to transfer. So I'm using this like it's my pattern. So before I stitch the pocket down on the first half, I flipped it right back out to the wrong side and I laid it down on top of the right side up, because you're pinning the pocket on right side up. Right sides together with the piece that's already done. The pocket's on it, but I'm using that as a guide. Matching up my corners like this. Flat, make sure it's flat under there. Make sure that my edges of my material are in the right place. Make sure that's good and flat. Now, because I have this slit here, I can actually peek and see to make sure if that tab, or welt as they call it, matches up with the edge of the one from this one. And it does there. And there's the dart. I'm going to pull this edge up. And I want to make sure that this is the one on the piece that I have. This is the one that's underneath. And make sure that they match up, not only height-wise here, but also here. And once I've determined that's in the right place, I'm going to pull that back. I put a pin in. Then I'm going to do it on the opposite side. Pull this side back. Put a pin in. Then I can pull this off. So now my welt is where it needs to be for the other pocket. And then I'm going to put on the other pieces that I need, which is the lining, goes on top and sits right with that. And it. And like this. And like this. So flat. Then the actual pocket itself, right sides together again. You notice how it's not coming to the bottom here. So when I do this seam here, it's going to pull that up. But it's going to be between that and the lining. You literally want them touching. One of them is going to be a little bit wider than the other on this particular pattern. But it's made that way for a reason. Pin that in place. Now I can go ahead and stitch my 3/8 inch across here and my 3/8 inch across here. So it's 3/8 inch across here, and this welt or flap, whatever you want to call it, is where it needs to be with respect to the other side. It's the same distance. That's why I laid right sides together, matched them up, peeled it back, and as you can see, they line up perfectly. They all line up great. So that's how you, when you have a pattern that doesn't have distinct markings on it, that you can get around it a little bit. And I do not want to lose pattern pieces, so I stick them under this cutting board till I'm done. So that packet's ready to go. I'm going to put that over here on the machine. Once you've done those for the vest, you stitch the shoulder seams. I've already serged the edges, even though this is going to be all underlining. And I've already done that. And we've done the perfect darts for the sides. Sewing the lining together is like doing another vest. This is another little project right there. These are the front facings. So, and this is the back. Just like with the outside, you match up right sides together. Keeping in mind, since this is the center front, that goes like this. And then this one goes this way. Follow the armhole cuttings and you've got it. So I'm going to pin these and stitch these. And then the next video we are going to put this vest together. With the other pocket will be done. And so I'm going to turn this around for y'all. So if you have any questions about any of this, it's a kind of a long drawn out process, but I'm doing it in chunks for you. So we did cover the pocket, how it's properly laid down, how to cut it out, how to finish that off. And now we're doing the lining to match the outside part. And pretty soon we're going to have us a nice vest. So please let me know your thoughts in the comments. And by all means, what I always tell everyone, if you can't do anything else, just keep on sewing.